Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuhu. Welcome back, class 8, to your chemistry online class. We had started with lesson number 6, that is language of chemistry, in the last lecture. Let's quickly revise what we had done in the last lecture. I had told you that all the elements have symbols, that is the abbreviation used to denote an element is called the symbol in chemistry, and it is not new, and many other scientists had earlier used symbols to represent elements. And nowadays what we do, what are we using? We are using the names that are approved by an international committee, that is called IUPAC, that is International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. And how do we write the symbols? So generally some symbols are derived from the first letter of the English name of the element, that they are written in capital letters. For example, oxygen, you can see hydrogen or nitrogen. What is being used? The first letter, that is hydrogen. H is being used, nitrogen N, oxygen O, carbon C, sulfur S. You can see all these. Then some symbols are derived from the first letter and another significant letter of the English name of the element. So you can check this. For example, we have C for carbon and C for chlorine also. So we are using for chlorine, we have used the second alphabet, which we can hear in the pronunciation, that is chlorine, that is Cl. Is that clear? Similarly, we have bromine, like boron also begins with B and bromine also begins with B. So we have used the another alphabet with the capital alphabet, that is the first alphabet, it is Br. Similarly, we have for helium and neon, then argon, krypton, radon, and many other such elements. Is it clear? And then we have some symbols which are derived from Latin name of the elements. So like Latin is a language, Latin or Greek is the same thing. So aluminium, the Latin name is alumin and the symbol is Al. Is that clear? Antimony, it is terbium and the symbol is Sb. Similarly, for calcium, copper, then gold, that is aurum, and the symbol is Au. So similarly, we have for lead, that is plumbum, it is Pb. Similarly, many other elements are like this. So the symbol of an element is the first letter or the first and another significant letter of the English name or Latin name of the element. Is it clear? So what does the symbol represent? The symbol of an element represents its name and an atom. Is that clear? If we have Al, for instance, it is going to, if you remember, you have to learn these symbols by heart along with the name of the element. So if we know the symbol Al is given, that means you know the symbol, you know the element, that is aluminium. Similarly, the symbol Cu is given, you know the element copper is being talked about. Is it clear? So I had also repeated valency, that is the combining capacity of an element, and I had told you that it is the maximum number of univalent atoms, originally hydrogen atoms, that can combine with or displace an atom of the element or a radical to form a compound. So I had given the example of hydrogen chloride, where one chlorine atom combines with one hydrogen atom, so the valency of chlorine atom is 1. Similarly, in water molecule, one oxygen atom combines with two hydrogen atoms, so the valency of oxygen atom is 2. So similarly, I had also explained about the variable valency, that is some elements show more than one valency and they are said to have variable valencies. And we have the lower valency. For instance, when we are talking about, say, copper, if we are talking about copper, it has a valency of 1, 2. That means two valencies are there, 1 and 2. So we can write the lower valency. How do we write? We write with the suffix OUS, that is, we will write cuprous. And similarly, the higher valency will be ending with the suffix ic, that is, we will write it as cupric. Then similarly, there are other elements which have variable valencies, for example mercury, copper, iron, tin, and so on. Is it clear? Lead, these are some of the elements which show variable valency. So you all have to learn the valencies. I had asked you to learn table 6.4, that is showing the symbols and valency of the first 20 elements. Is it clear? Now I'll proceed further. So let's discuss about the radicals, which I have discussed in the last chapter as well. What are radicals? So I've discussed about radical, that is, radical is an atom of an element or group of atoms of different elements that behave as a single unit with a positive or negative charge. This I have already told, and these radicals are of two types, that is the acid radical and the basic radical. So what are radical? It is an atom of an element or group of atoms of different elements that behave as a single unit with a positive or negative charge. Then what are acid and basic radicals? So the negatively charged radicals are called acid radicals or anions. So we have the non-metallic ions. What are non-metals? Name a few non-metals. They are chlorine, then they are bromine. Apart from this, nitrogen, sulfur, these are all non-metallic ions, and groups of non-metallic atoms with a negative charge are all called as acid radicals. Is that clear? Similarly, we have the basic radical, that is the positively charged radicals are called basic radical or cations. For example, we have the basic radicals as argentus, that is silver, or sodium Na plus, potassium K plus. Is it clear? These are all the basic radicals, or they are also known as the cations. So a radical is formed by an atom or group of two or more different atoms that combine and behave as a single unit. For example, if we are taking as a single unit, it is a group of atom like the hydroxide ion, OH minus negative. This is a single radical. We can't take it as two different ions, that is oxygen and hydrogen separately. No, it acts as a single unit, that is hydroxide ion. Or we take the other ion, like for example the sulfate ion. We don't consider it separately to be sulfur and oxygen. We consider it as a group of ions containing sulfur and oxygen together, and it works as a single unit. Is it clear? So this is how the radicals work, that they behave as a single unit and they do not have any independent identity. Like we say sulfur will behave differently and oxygen will behave independently. No, they work or behave as a unit, they in combination with each other. They exist in combination with other radicals or elements. Is that clear? For instance, when we do the formula writing, when you learn to write the formula, for instance, you are writing Na2, or the simpler one is you write NaCl. So it is made up of two radicals, that is Na plus and Cl minus. Or you are writing another compound, that is Na2SO4. So this is like it is made up of two radicals, that is Na plus a positive radical, that is a basic radical, and an acidic radical. Is that clear? So this is how they work. They don't have any independent identity and they exist in combination with other radical elements. The valency of a radical is equal to the number of positive or negative charge shown on it. For example, we have Cl. Its valency is, I told you where only sign is given and nothing else is mentioned, it means the valency is 1. That is, chlorine has a valency of 1. Or if is Al3 plus, that means a valency of 3. Is it clear? Then SO4 2 minus, that means or minus 2 is the same thing, or 2 plus or plus 2 is the same thing. Here 2 minus, or the valency is 2. Is that clear? So the valency of a radical is equal to the number of positive or negative charge shown on it, and the molecule of a compound is usually made up of 2 radicals, as I have told you just now. For instance, another example we can take another example of CuSO4. CuSO4 is made up of 2 radicals, that is Cu 2 plus or plus 2 is the same thing, that means 2 plus, this is the basic radical or this is the positive ion. Is that clear? Or you can say it is cation. And in the same compound we have the acidic radical as the sulfate radical, minus 2. Is it clear? So these radicals act as single unit but cannot exist independently, and they combine with other radicals like copper and so on. So all these sulfate, cyanide or other radicals, they cannot exist independently. This does not have an independent existence, or this does not have an independent existence. They will always occur in combination with the other radical. Is it clear? Next, let's look into the table 6.5. You can see the various acid radicals over here and the various basic radicals, and see, you have to learn this is the acetate ion, then this is the bicarbonate, then bisulfate, bromide, fluoride, hydroxide, cyanide and so on, and the valencies are given in the other this particular column. Is it clear? This column. Then we have in the other section, these are the basic radicals, ammonium NH4 plus, and the valency is given 1. Then argentus Ag plus, the valency is given as 1. Similarly, magnesium, zinc, then aluminium, chromium and so on. So you have to learn these properly so that it is easier for you to write the formulas. And how do we write the molecular formula of a compound and what is its significance? Now we know that each compound is represented by a fixed formula, and that is called as the molecular formula because it represents the molecule of a compound. So the very common ones that you are acquainted with are H2O, that is water. This is the molecular formula of water. Then carbon dioxide, this is the molecular formula of carbon dioxide. Then you have carbon monoxide, or you have O2 only, oxygen. These are the molecular formula. So what is a molecular formula? It is the symbolic representation of its molecule. Is that clear? That is how we represent a particular compound in its symbolic form, in the form of its symbols. That means it shows what? It shows the number of atoms of each element present in it. For instance, carbon dioxide. That means one carbon atom has combined with 2 oxygen atoms to form carbon dioxide. Is that clear? So this is what, that is, one molecule of carbon dioxide is formed by one atom of carbon and two atoms of oxygen. Similarly, water, that is, one water molecule has been formed by two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. Is it clear? So how do we write these chemical formula? So before writing the chemical formula of any compound, we should know what? We should know the symbol of each element of the compound, then formula of each radical that is present in that compound, and the valencies of the elements and radical forming that compound. That is the symbol. First thing is the symbol of the elements of the compound, then the formula of each radical, then the valencies of the elements and radical forming the compound. These things we should know. For instance, the example that is given is of magnesium oxide. So magnesium oxide. First thing, we should know the symbol. That is, the symbol of magnesium is Mg and the symbol of oxygen is O. Is it clear? Now write the symbols in a way that positive radical is written on left side and the negative radical is written on the right side. So unless and until we learn them, you will not that means unless and until you learn it, you will not be able to write the formula. So you have to learn these very properly, which ones are acidic, which one are basic, or which one are positive and which one are negative. So magnesium is the positive radical and oxygen is the negative radical. So magnesium has been written on the left side. This is the left side, and oxygen is written on the right side. Oxide has been written on the right side. Is that clear? So this is how we write the symbols first. Then the next step is that we should be knowing the valencies. The first step is we have written the symbols, that is Mg 2 plus and this is minus. Is that clear? Now write the valencies of the radicals below the symbols. Now we will write the valencies, that is both have a valency of 2. Now valencies are reduced to a simple ratio by dividing them with a common factor when needed. That is, in this case we will divide them by a common factor, say 2. Is that clear? And when we divide them by 2, then what will happen? Both will get 1. 2 divided by 2, that is 1, and 2 divided by 2 here also 1. So the valencies get interchanged. Interchange the valency, whatever we get this side, when we have taken a common factor and divided the valencies by them, then what do we get? We get 1 on both the sides. And when we write the formula, we interchange the valencies. This is what we have got. When we have divided the valencies, we have got 1 1 on both the sides, and when we exchange the valencies. So what do we get? MgO. Now we will not write this. This is when they were in the radical form. That is, in the radical form, we are writing the chemical formula of magnesium oxide as MgO. Is that clear? Next example we can take of zinc sulfide. Is it clear? Zinc. Write the chemical formula of zinc sulfide. Now first thing that we will do is write the symbols of the radical, that is of the acidic radical and the basic radical, Zn plus 2 and sulfur. So again you should know which one is the positive radical and which one is the negative. So zinc is the positive radical and the charge that is present is +2, and sulfur is the negative radical and the charge that is present is -2. Now after that we write the valencies. Again what do? We reduce to simple ratio by dividing them by 2. So when we divide them by 2, again we get what? We get 1 on both the sides. Then we interchange the valencies again and we get the formula as ZnS. Is that clear? Next example is ammonium sulfate. Ammonium sulfate. First we will write which is the positive radical, that is NH4 plus, and sulfate is the negative radical. Again what do? We write the valencies. Ammonium radical has a valency of 1 and sulfate has a valency of 2, as you can see from the charge over here. This is very clear. Now there is no common factor between the two valencies 1 and 2. Is that clear? So they are not reduced to simple ratio. Now instead we cannot reduce this. We cannot write 1/2 and 2/2 here and cancel them. They cannot be cancelled or they cannot be divided over here. So what do? We interchange the valencies as such. How do we write? Because this NH4 is acting as a single unit only, so we will not write 2 over here. This will be wrong. We put a bracket around the whole radical, that is NH4, and put a 2 after that. Is that clear? As the subscript. And sulfate, the valency which has been interchanged is 1 only, so this will be written as such. So the formula becomes NH4 whole twice SO4. Is it clear? So please practice this. Before practicing, please learn them up properly so that it is easier for you to understand and then write the formulas properly. Please revise it so that things become easier for you. Allah Hafiz.